we're all biased, man. We are
Mm.
all biased. We have all been raised in an imperfect world by imperfect people, and our only saving grace, comes down to Jesus Christ and what he did for us on the cross, right?
No, that's a
And that
fact.
even goes into politics.
Oh,
And
it's
but
all that should guide your politics. If we're being honest, you should take everything that you believe politically and test it by God's word, because God's word speaks to the truth of how. Like, think about this. It's the playbook for life. It's not the playbook for you can't use it and say I stand on this as a human, but as a politician, I think I don't like it. Like
yeah, but
it's in its whole.
don't you think Jesus kind of really backed away from politics? I mean, he could. I don't know. I mean, I agree with your statement and I agree with that sentiment. But at some point, I kind of think to myself that Jesus. I mean, partly Jesus backed away from politics because he was just like, that's not. In a perfect world, honestly, in a perfect world, I don't think we have a government. If you look back at the Old
Well, I
Testament,
mean,
you
look,
look
in a
at,
perfect world, King Jesus sits on the throne and governs all. Like, he is the perfect king. He's the perfect.
well, yeah,
So,
okay, yeah,
yeah, I mean, and you're right. Like, in eternity, in heaven, there will be a king. There will be an absolute dictator, and he will sit on his perfect throne with his perfect judgment and be. And so, yeah, you're right. But at the end of the
uh,
day, like, policy. Let me back up. You're right.
sure.
Jesus didn't campaign, okay? And so I'm not trying, but Jesus did. Jesus did give us principles by which we should treat orphans, widows, by which we should treat those that don't look like us. He told us how to treat those with less than us. He told us how to treat the rules. He told us how to interact with the rules. He told us when to stop listening to the. So he gave us a playbook. Like, I don't think he was talking to politicians. I think he was talking to believers and saying, this is how you follow. This is how you are a kingdom follower and a kingdom civilian or citizen, right? Like, you're going to be a citizen of your government, but you're first and foremost, you're my son or my daughter. And so as my son or my daughter, these are my rules. These rules are first.
Yeah,
Second of all, and by the way, if you follow those rules, you find yourself believing in authority, trusting in authority, yielding to authority. I mean, a lot of things that a lot of Christians right now have missed the boat on. By the way, if you're listening and you're a pastor and you're out there trying to you just rile people up, racism or coronavirus or whatever, let me tell you something. You've missed the boat. Let me introduce you to Jesus, because he would disagree with most of what it is that you're teaching. In fact, I would say, anyway, I'm not going to dive into that today because we'll be here for hours. But at the end of the day, like, I love our country. Like, I love what God has. Again, we didn't build this. No immigrant built this. What God gifted us with this. Like, this was something given to us. Don't get me wrong. Actions had to happen. So when you hear me say that, don't hear me say nobody did anything. That's you and
yeah,
I probably don't operate from the same perspective. If you heard me say that, and then your response was that. So yes, certainly there are actions that men and women have taken for years and years and years to build this, but ultimately none of it happens without him. And so with that, what is our response to that? That's the question. That's really the core of everything we've talked about today. What is our response to this republic as Christians? What is our response to this government as Christians? What is our response to fill in the blank as Christ followers? That's the only thing that matters, Ronald. It's the only thing that matters. What is your response to Jesus?